I am your host, FatDag, and you're listening to WhysAdvice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at FatDag.com and follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at WhysAdvice. Send in your comments, your questions, and your celebrations. I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. Hey, I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. That's right. I believe in you. I believe you can do this. I can believe whatever it is you want to do, you can do. Welcome to episode 119 of WhysAdvice. If you don't already listen to the show on the app, I want to take a moment just to let you know that app is available. Every once in a while, I get someone asking me, how to hear the show, or they've listened to it and they didn't even know I had an app. Go to your app store, whether it be the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. In either of them, search for WhysAdvice, W-H-Y-S, WhysAdvice with FatDag. Do that search. The app will come up. It's completely free. Last I checked, there are probably about 15,000 downloads of the app, which is absolutely crazy. But the app gives you all the shows in one place. You can do a search for certain topics. You can mark shows as a favorite. You can download them all while you're on your Wi-Fi and then take all the shows with you and play them without having to use any data while you're out and about. So if you don't already have the app, certainly go get it. I believe it's the best way to hear the show. Of course, we're also on Stitcher Radio. We're on iHeartRadio. You can find it in YouTube, find it on Facebook, find it just about anywhere you can find a podcast. But I believe, and a lot of others confirm, that the app really is probably the best listening experience. So just want to give a plug to that. A couple things happened today that were kind of fun that I want to share with you before we dive right into the show. I went for a run today. I ran a 5K over the weekend, but today was my midweek run, and I'm working on speed. So I got out and set out for my run. As you know, if you're following along, when I first started this Weight Watcher journey, I couldn't run at all. A 15-minute mile was about all I really could do, and that was painful. I actually could not run a mile. No exaggeration. Couldn't actually do it. The times that I could do it, when I started running, it was about 15 minutes to get a mile in. And then I slowly was able to get my mile and a half, and I was somewhere around 15 minutes for a mile and a half. The Air Force didn't like that number, certainly. I set now a personal goal, now that I've lost a lot of weight, 91 pounds, and I'm actually doing my training. I have a personal goal of getting an excellent score on my fitness test. In order for me to do that, I have to run a mile and a half in 9 minutes, 45 seconds. It's about a 6:30 pace. So think about it. I was doing a 15:30 pace. I now have to run it in a 6:30 pace. Today I got done my run and I was at a 7:09. So I'm still about 30 to 40 seconds off of my run, my mile and a half pace time. But man, what a great day. So I ran my mile and a half today, 10 minutes, 44 seconds. But what that means, that the coolest thing for me is I am now less than a minute away from acing this fitness test. It's 59 seconds and counting. So 59. If I can just shave 59 seconds off of this mile and a half, I can get an excellent score. I can get a perfect score on my Air Force fitness test, and so that's the goal. You'll hear it here first when I do it. I'm pretty positive the day that I run it, I'll go Facebook Live right from the track and letting you know that I did it. So. Every chance I get to go out and do it, I'm going to go get it done. But for a couple things that were me for non-scale victories there was the fact that I couldn't run a mile and a half before I started this weight loss journey. Then when I started running, it was a 15-minute or so mile and a half, and now we're down to 10:44, and that's killing. So what's funny about that is the 10:44 gives me 8 fit points. That's it. It's 8 fit points. That's all I got. So I'm certainly not going to eat them. Last thing today was kind of fun with my run is as I was unpacking my gym bag, I realized I didn't bring my running socks. So what was funny, and my wife even commented when I got home, because I came home and I'm wearing my, a running shirt, running shorts, and I'm wearing my green Air Force socks. They're wool socks. They're green. They're ugly, but they match the uniform. I'm wearing those with my running shoes. And she looked at me. She goes, "What is that?" And we laughed for a little bit. And I said, yeah, I forgot my running socks. And so I ran with these. And she said it. I was thinking it, but she said it. She goes, before, that would have stopped you from running. That would have been a great excuse before. Oh, you didn't bring your running socks. No way. You can't go run. But today was slightly different. So anyway, that's a great run. So no matter where you are in your fitness journey, what I'm trying to convey to you is that if you want it, go out and get it. If you have the ability to run, then just continue working on your goals. If you don't have the ability to run, then just do whatever you can that leads towards that. Walking, any sort of water aerobic, anything you can do, you could increase, but you have to start by setting an attendance goal so that you build up the desire to do it. You build up the habit that says, I want to continue doing this. And that habit today is what let me go running in a pair of green Army wool socks and a pair of running shoes. So that's the deal with that. Next up, last thing I want to talk about is funny post that happened this evening on Connect. A good buddy of mine lives up in Maine, and Maine does not have a Chick-fil-A. So he had to visit Massachusetts for a little while. And while he was down there, he found a Chick-fil-A. He's been following me on Facebook. He's been following me on Connect. He saw my journey, and then what that inspired him to actually join. He's doing fantastic work. He's down about the halfway point of his journey, coming up on 50 pounds lost, which is an incredible accomplishment. So he goes to Chick-fil-A today for the first time in a long time, maybe even ever. He's never been there because they don't have one in Maine. He walks in and he orders what we call the FatDag special. He orders a 12-count nugget. He orders a fruit cup, only strawberries, and then orders a bottle of water. And after he got done ordering it, the gal at the register said, "Oh my God, are you FatDag?" She recognized the order, and he's like, No, I'm not, but I know him. And she goes, "Oh, I listen to him every day." So shout out to the folks in Chick-fil-A who listen to the podcast. Thank you for walking with us. Thank you for being in on this journey. And a shout out to the Kathy family. Hey, listen, we love Chick-fil-A. You guys are doing great work with the food, or many of us do. And so, but what I get from a lot of folks is I order my fruit cup with only strawberries. A cup full of apples is not enough to persuade me to give up on the French fries, but a cup full of strawberries, I'll do that all day long. So, but what we run into is there's also there's a lot of Chick-fil-A's that don't do only strawberries. So what I want you to say is please let's get all of the Chick-fil-A's together to honor this strawberries only. If you're trying to do it, here's how I do it. I order my fruit cup. I said I'd like a medium fruit cup. I'd like only strawberries. And what they do is sometimes they look at me and I have to then tell the person at the register, well, what you do is you hit the special fruit button, then you hit open comment, and you type in only strawberries. There's an upcharge for it. I'm glad to pay it. It's cheaper than my copay for my insurance. So therefore, I'll continue to do only strawberries. But here's what I want you to do. If you're listening to this episode right now, it's going to be on Twitter. It's going to be on Facebook. Tag Chick-fil-A. Let them know we want the option to have whatever we want in our fruit cup. A lot of people don't really care for the apples, and there's too many apples in them. So let's see if we can at least customize our fruit cups nationwide. So anyway, that's my introduction. That's what, a long show tonight, but I wanted to get that out there to go. So first up, out of the email box, Maria writes in and says, "Hi, Mike. First, I want to say you are so inspiring. Your hard work and your focus have truly paid off. My name is Maria, and I live in Chicago. I only recently stumbled upon your podcast maybe a week ago, and I've been listening to it whenever that I get the chance. Every night I walk after dinner, and I listen to your podcast while I walk. My daily goal is 10,000 steps. I really enjoy walking. I'm 45 years old, and I've struggled with being overweight from the time I was a young girl. I remember shopping with my mom in the chubby girls section for my clothes. I was made fun of for being bigger than the other girls my age. Well, kids can be so mean. I started my first diet freshman year of high school. I've never had a healthy relationship with food. I truly believe I'm addicted to certain foods, mainly sugar, cookies, candy, and ice cream. I've lost substantial amounts of weight in the past, but I have never kept it off." About 7 years ago, I joined Weight Watchers for the first time. My neighbor had tremendous success with the program. I was successful. I tracked every single food, never went over my points, lost every week on the scale. I worked the Weight Watcher program perfectly. I lost 50 pounds and I thought I was done, and I canceled my Weight Watcher membership. My husband said, "Maria, you know what you're doing. You don't need to pay for the meetings." I hadn't set a goal weight, or I hadn't reached lifetime. Fast forward several years and several failed attempts. Since then, I gained all those 50 pounds back and more. I tried doing the Weight Watcher program so many times since then, and I would only stick to the program for 2 weeks at the most each time. I had a very hard time sticking to the program. A lot of habits were just hard for me to break. But this past birthday, in March 2017, I turned 45. I was completely depressed. Absolutely hated the way I looked, and I never wanted to do things with friends. I hated myself for letting myself get to this point. I was eating large amounts of food, and I would eat in private. Eating was my way of checking out. It was my escape for whatever that I was upset about. In the meantime, my husband pleaded with me on several occasions to get healthy, and I wanted to so badly. I was just so lost and overwhelmed. On March 30th of this year, I walked back into the Weight Watcher meeting, and I was utterly embarrassed. I think I actually cried during the meeting. I weighed in at 229.6 pounds. I felt so overwhelmed, I can't even explain it. Since then, I've lost 35.8 pounds, which makes me feel good. I go to my meetings on Sunday morning. My problem is I have always been a perfectionist. If I don't do something perfectly, then why bother? I now know how flawed that way of thinking is. This time around, I've had a few weigh-ins where I've gained. Those weigh-ins were tough. The old me would quit and never step foot in another meeting again. This week, I'm struggling with emotional eating. Some of my bad habits have come back, and I'm having a hard time loving where I am in the journey. I still do not like the way I look. I have at least another 50 to 60 pounds to lose. If something upsets me, I eat to forget about it, to self-soothe. For lack of a better way to describe it, for example, a friend did something today that upset me. I ate over it. Of course, I know that me eating over the situation won't help, and I feel worse about going over my point at the end of the day. I'm not sure why, but I've always based my self-worth on others' opinions or actions towards me. For the longest time, I never thought I had the power to lose weight. Other people could be successful, but not me. I may have had some temporary success. This is my way of thinking. I haven't been tracking my food since this past Sunday. I could really use some support to get back on track. Even though my husband is very supportive, he just doesn't get it. He's never been overweight. My friends don't get it either, though they mean well. I was wondering, though, if you could be my wingman, if you could hold me accountable. I think it would really help. Can I possibly send you my weekly weigh-in numbers each Sunday after my meeting? I only weigh in at meetings. I think weighing at home daily for me would be detrimental right now. My why is that I want to be healthy so I can set an example for my kids. I'd like to show them that hard work pays off and that you can achieve almost anything if you believe in yourself. I want to finally feel good about myself and in control of my life. I don't want to feel depressed or miss out on anyone because of my weight. I want my kids to be proud of me. Thank you for your awesome podcast. You give me hope that this battle with weight can be won. I apologize if this was too long. Thank you for listening. Maria out of Chicago. Well, Maria, what a great story you have here, because you've proven that you can win. You've proven that you can get this done. We just got to get you to the point where you believe that you can do it for a long term. And so what you can do is just continue to set those attendance goals. We talk about attendance goals all the time. And so every night you walk after dinner and you listen to the podcast, your daily step goal is 10,000. That is an attendance goal. If you set out every single day to say, hey, I just want to make sure I can just do something. I want to get out and walk. I think the 10,000 number actually ends up being a performance goal a little bit, but the fact that you get out there every night after dinner and get it done is where you're making the most success. Your perfectionism mindset understands the attendance side of it, and I would much rather you get out and do 2 steps and keep the attendance goal going than to not go because you don't have time to get the 10,000. Continue to do that and you'll be just fine. I understand where you're at, in the point where, you started your first diet your freshman year of high school. You have never had a healthy relationship with food. Addictions are strong here. If you're addicted to sugar, cookies, cake, that's why this program works so well right now, because the moderation part takes a certain amount of balance. And so if we have a strong addiction to sugar, and like a lot of us do, and certainly like I did, one of the answers for me was I had to do a very good job of limiting it. I couldn't have half a cupcake and then decide that, I would be okay by not having the other half, because the addiction for me, I had the most amount of willpower before the first bite. Once I gave in to the first bite, the second bite was harder to resist, and the third bite became even more difficult. So for me, I had to break that addiction by just simply saying no to the first bite and never having to get through. The fact that you've joined this program before many, many times, you understand that every time we quit, we usually end up coming back with a new start date. You've proven that. You've proven that you've lost 50 pounds, which means you clearly have everything you need to be successful. You have a program, you have the proof that you did it, and you have the tools available now that are geared towards reducing your addiction to the sugar. Everything you need right now is at your fingertips. You absolutely can get it done. The piece that's missing is a little bit of love. I understand your why. I understand what got you to goal or got you to join. I understand, you hated yourself for letting you get to this point. Eating was your way of checking out. You're depressed, absolutely hated the way you looked. I understand all of that. I lived through it. One of the things that got me away from that is I finally said, when I got to the point where you're at, and I got to rock bottom, I said, I am done. It was at that point I said, I am going to start loving myself from this point forward, because the only way to get better is to love me enough to take care of me. I want you to start finding all the ways, all the things that you're doing so wonderful in life that you then can say, yeah, I love everything about my journey, and I'm going to then continue to grow up and grow and be the best person I can be given the set of circumstances that you're in. When you get to that point, that's when everything starts to click and you're going to have an amazing journey. So as you continue to struggle with that, perfectionist mindset, we have to understand that this journey does not work for a perfectionist. It just does not. You cannot sustain a perfectionist attitude mindset for the rest of your life. And so if you have to rely on being a perfectionist, then the perfection piece you want to focus on is not quitting. If you can perfectly work this program to the point where you never quit it, that's the only piece that I want you to be perfect at. If you nail that, you will get to goal. I'm positive of that. Now let's talk about, the accountability piece. One of the things that I set out on this show when I very first started the show is I do not want to replace anything that Weight Watchers is currently offering. So I understood in my journey, I needed a little more accountability than just the 1 day a week. I also didn't want to go into a personal coaching scenario, just not something I wanted to do, but many people have been successful at it. Weight Watchers currently does a one meeting a week. I don't discuss the meeting topic because I want you to go to your meeting to get that topic. Weight Watchers has Connect. Inside the app, the Connect app is where you're going to find your accountability team, and I want you to plug into them. If that is not working for you, there is a personal coaching option that obviously you can pay for, but that'll give you that one-on-one accountability with someone who can look over your tracker, who can look at your thing and talk to you specifically about your journey. As much as I would love to be that person for you, the reality is that as soon as I said yes, I would have, hundreds of emails and I wouldn't do you a service for that. I would be terrible at being able to hold you accountable because the overwhelming response to that offer would take it out. So let the folks who are good at that do that for you. I've had no training in personal coaching, so I don't even offer any service as a personal coach because I don't feel that's where my strength is. I feel that my strength is telling you that you can do this. And my strength is showing you that I've done it. And my strength is telling you how my journey goes. I want you to dig into Connect. I want you to start looking for some hashtags. The one that comes to mind the most right now is the Blue Dot Challenge. That may work well with your perfectionist mindset to an extent, as I want you to start tracking every single day. I want you to stay within your plan. I want you to stop eating points when you're out of points. Use the hashtag Blue Dot Challenge. At that point, post up your entries. You will be surprised that people will find it and they will tag along and help get you to goal. You can do this. You absolutely can do this. So focus on your strengths. Focus on everything that you're doing right. Celebrate every chance you get along the way. And Maria, let's get you to goal. Next up, PJ writes in and says, "Good morning, my walking buddy. I just got done with my new 3.5-mile walk, thanks to you, and I was listening to your last 4 podcasts again, 84 through 87. I wanted to address something about this whole lifetime status goal topic. I reached lifetime over 20 years ago, but I've only since been listening to you been honest enough with myself to realize that I've lived with a self-induced plateau of complacency for the last 25 years. For all those years, I've been at what I call a socially acceptable weight and at a socially desirable weight. However, it's been about 12 pounds over what I know is my true goal weight, because when I'm at that number, 12 pounds lighter, I absolutely love how I look and I absolutely love how I feel. It's only since listening to your podcast that I realized I've been cheating myself out of that feeling all these years, and that is where I'm headed, and that is what causes me to wake up before my alarm even goes off to get up, get out, and walk to keep my scale on the kitchen counter, right next to my stove. Thanks to your wise advice, I'm getting it done this time, PJ." PJ, when you wrote this email, and this has been in my inbox for a couple of months, and I've been trying to work it in because I absolutely love the term that you've coined. I've even used it a couple times. There is a socially acceptable weight and a socially desirable weight that we can certainly allow us to derail us and get caught in that complacency trap, and you are there. Right. So at some point, it's not a secret that the world continues, many of us continue to be overweight. The world continues to get a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. So those of us who are just a little bit overweight, we look really fit and healthy compared to the average world, right? And so that is what we consider that socially acceptable weight. You look good, you feel good, you look good and you feel good compared to all of the nation around us. But you yourself know that you can do better. You know that for 12 pounds more, you can get to a point where you're not just socially acceptable, you're not just socially desirable, you are absolutely in love with everything about you. I can't wait till you get there. I checked in on you on Connect just before the show went live to see if you were there yet. You are so close. Some of the photos you've been posting on Connect are absolutely amazing. I can see the freedom in your mind, and I know when you get down all the way to your goal weight, the goal weight that you have decided is the point where you say, I do not want to lose any more weight. When you get there, I can just imagine the tears will be flowing, and I want to hear about it. You're doing great work, a 3.5-mile walk. I know by following your journey, I know what that means to you. I am super proud of you. I'm completely honored to walk this journey with you, and I can't wait till you get to that goal feeling and you rock it. Brandy writes in and says, "Good afternoon, Dag. I just found your podcast about a week ago, and I've been binge listening because I absolutely love it. I'm not new to Weight Watchers and the weight loss journey. I started my journey in Okinawa, Japan with an online membership only after my first child. I rocked it. I went from a size 16 pre-pregnancy to a size 8 in just 6 months. Well, it was a 2-baby tour, and I found myself in a foreign country with a deployed spouse and pregnant again. I ate to fill the void, and of course, I indulged because, I was supposed to. After baby number 2, I made Lifetime before his first birthday. Within 2 months of Lifetime, yes, you guessed it, my size 4 shorts were quite snug, and I was expecting number 3. Then number 4. It has been 12 years since I made Lifetime. My efforts start out strong, but as soon as I find myself in life, a divorce, remarrying, multiple trips to court, deaths in the family, and though I try not to give myself that life is getting in the way excuse. I'm an emotional eater, and I'm either 200% on program or I'm off the deep end. This time around, I'm having success. I've lost 35 pounds and successfully keeping it off with some new struggles. My new husband of 2 years before we met was very overweight. He's lost a ton of weight and was almost considered healthy weight when we met. He has since put on 35 pounds. He's an amazing man that took on not only me, but also took on and lovingly cares for our 4 children. I lovingly try to encourage him to join me. I try to meal prep for him. I try to encourage him to be active and take time for himself. After 4 years total together, I've realized I'm his crutch. If I'm on plan, he's okay-ish. But if I'm slightly off, it's a mess. He at one point joined Weight Watchers, attended one of the meetings, and fell off. I want him around for the long haul, but I can't seem to get him in that place, and it's hurting my success. I sometimes feel guilty running off to the gym, even though I've scheduled it. I feel bad that I don't want to do a date night at a restaurant or indulge in the things that we used to. I've expressed my concerns in regards to his health, but I feel like I hurt his feelings by pointing out that he's still gaining. I love him regardless, but again, I want to grow old with him. He has a history of diabetes and heart disease in his family, and it plagues me along with the fear of my own health. Well, how would you suggest approaching him? How do I make this look cool and rewarding? From one bro to another, how do I get him to care about self-care and eating well? Well, just a fun fact, when we first met, he fried everything. Vegetable oil was his main vegetable. Now he actually eats broccoli, spinach, salads, and other staples that I provide him for dinner. I really think it's part of his preservation. Sorry for the lengthy message, Brandy. Brandy, a couple quick things before I get into how we address that. So you're doing amazing work. You're down 35 pounds. You're successfully keeping it off. I understand you're struggling. You absolutely can get this done. To lose 35 pounds, you have to be focused on what it is you're trying to do for you. You can do that. You absolutely can do that. What I want you to do is understand that life is real. You know, it's an important part of this journey. We have to understand that life is going to come into play. You know, in the middle of your life, obviously, you have life, divorce, remarrying, trips to court, deaths in the family. All that stuff is heartbreaking. All of that stuff continues to be the reason why now more than ever, this is more important for you to get a handle on what it is you're trying to do and absolutely take care of yourself. The guilt that you feel when you're running off to the gym, even though you've scheduled it, the guilt that you feel when you say, no, I don't want that for dinner, that you absolutely, and I'm going to be kind as I can when I say that, you have to get over that. You have to get to the point where you are the priority for you. Now, when you have children, when you have a loving spouse, it's important to understand their needs, but I can tell you that you have to place your needs just slightly above theirs in some regard. And the reason you have to do that is because you have to take care of you, and only you have the ability to take care of you. So I want you to understand that piece. If you scheduled it in the gym, I want you to go to the gym. If all of a sudden, dinner comes up and it wasn't what you planned, you need to have the strength to say, hey, you know what? This does not fit into my plan. Go if you'd like. I'm not going to go. I've done that a couple times. A couple times that was how I made it to goals, by saying, hey, you know what, honey, I understand that's what we're having for dinner, but it doesn't fit into my plan. It got to the point where we started working as a team and we got, getting it done. When it comes to how do you best approach him, how do you tell him that he's doing it? The way that I want to explain this is I want to talk about my the 5K that I ran this weekend. Bear with me as I go through it. But so I scheduled myself for a 5K. Man, it's 3.1 miles. Do you know how long 3.1 miles is? It's 3.1 miles. It's wow. It's a long distance. And so I signed up with a whole bunch of people, and we got there an hour and a half early. I stood around forever waiting for people to show up, and it was like kind of boring. I'm standing there. I hated it. And one by one, slowly people started showing up, and it was like, okay. Then we started running, and it was hot out, and there wasn't enough water on the course, and I didn't really have a good time in the run. So I ran, and as I was running, got passed by a couple of people. A couple of my friends were out running with me. They passed me. And I kept thinking the whole time, man, this is terrible. And then it started getting thirsty. I didn't have enough water, and then I crossed the finish line. When I crossed the finish line, no one was there. Everyone they ran their own race and did their own time. So I didn't see anybody across the finish line. And, so it just, so I ran a 5K. Now, does that sound fun to you? Or would you rather hear this version of the story? So let me get this right. It has been years since I've been able to run a race. And so I signed up excited. I said, you know what? I started training, and I worked on a 3.1 mile run. 3.1 miles. That's pretty neat. The fact that I can actually get out and run 3.1 miles was amazing. I invited other people to join me. I said, hey guys, let's do this together. One by one, they showed up. We spent time at the start line talking about it, sharing each other's journey. And I met some folks who'd never, ever done a 5K before, and we shared in that joy. The gun got off, and we took off, and I took off like you wouldn't believe. I started running this course, and boom, before I knew it, there was a water station. Good thing, because I was ready for it. And I had a sip of water, and I kept running. And as I crossed the finish line, just ahead of me were two of my good friends who I saw them cross the finish line. I saw them beat me. How cool was it that I got to see them cross the finish line ahead of me? I then walked back, and I walked back about a half a mile or so, and I found the other folks in our group, and I walked with them, and I brought them across the finish line. Man, we had a great day. And then after that, we all went out, and we just kind of hung out, and we stuck around, and we got caught up. Which of those stories would you rather participate in? It's the same day. It's the same race. But what I want you to understand is you need to be the prize. You need to focus on you, and you need to share all of the excitement that's happening in your journey so that somebody else witnessing it decides they want a piece of that. Be the prize. Don't continue to struggle. Don't continue to talk about all the things that are going wrong, because there will always be something that you can find that's not going right. If you shift your perspective and you find something that's going right, and that is what you share with the folks who you want to entice, then suddenly the journey becomes more attractive to them. And they feel like they can do it too because you're doing it. No one wants to join a misery party. So you can go ahead and get it done. So Brandy, what I want you to do is I want you to focus on you. I want you to take care of you. And when you get to goal, and you maintain your goal, your family through osmosis will naturally start eating healthy and being healthy. And at that point, he will recognize how much fun you're having, and he absolutely will want to join in. That's how you get it done. Last up, Marlene writes in, says, I've recently joined Weight Watchers after deciding I could no longer tolerate the expense and deprivation of a high-protein ketosis program costing $400 to $550 a month. Your recent post on Connect intrigued me, as you clearly are proof that one can eat real food, lose weight, and attain excellent health. I love that you are willing to share your journey to help inspire others to do the same. 2 years ago, at 59 years of age, I was declared disabled with 2 rare progressive connective tissue diseases that have no cure. There are few treatments, and they cause debilitating pain and fatigue. Even worse is the unrelenting depression after losing a job that I loved and I went to for 35 and a half years. Most of my identity and my self-worth came from my work. Also, I was the breadwinner after my husband became disabled by epilepsy 10 years ago, and he lost his job after 25 years working in public schools. I've had a lifelong battle with weight since the 5th grade, 51 years of seeing food as the enemy. At the highest, I was 316 pounds, but with severely restrictive starvation diets, I got down to 248 pounds. did that this summer. I've already gained 12 pounds since stopping the ketosis diet last month. All fruit was forbidden on the ketosis diet. I've craved berries and melons in season, and I felt so ashamed when I weakened last month and I ate 3 strawberries. When I admitted my cheating to my diet counselor, she chastised me for not fully complying with the protocol, wasting the $97 a week to satisfy my craving of fruit. I was so ashamed that I felt like Eve taking a bite of the forbidden apple. When my friend told me she joined Weight Watchers and had lost 21 pounds in 3 months, I was impressed, and I also was shocked to learn that fruits had 0 points. I decided to quit ketosis diet, and I joined Weight Watchers in August. I kept waiting for that finger pointing from heaven with booming voice saying, "Ha, we caught you, Marlene. Drop the banana." I'm excited to share your journey with my brother, Keel. He is also obese at 265 pounds and just 5'3". He loves really good beer. My father was a career Army chaplain, and after 5 years duty assignment in Germany, our family gained lifelong love of good beer, wine, bratwurst, Wiener Schnitzel, and strudel. My father was constantly worried about his weight and received warnings and lowered his total score in the annual evaluations that were a permanent part of his military life. In spite of his distinguished military service of 30 years, my father was constantly threatened for exceeding weight limits, and he feels he was passed up for promotion due to his weight since he received an excellent rating in the remainder of the evaluation. This brilliant man, just 20 to 25 pounds over weight limits, had earned 2 master's degrees and a PhD. He was honored and offered an assignment at Russian consulate and was awarded the Bronze Medal with the V device for valor for heroic service during active combat duty in Vietnam 1969 and 1970. Under enemy fire, my father went from foxhole to foxhole, offering communion and prayer to all who asked whether he were Protestant, Catholic, or Jewish. He discovered that there are no atheists in foxholes. None of his service mattered when he stepped on the scale. We were stunned when he received notice that he'd been reducted in force in 1978. My younger brother served 20 years active duty as an Air Force air traffic controller at Loring Air Force Base, a year in Korea, a year in Bosnia, and finally landed as a shift supervisor at Dover Air Force Base, where he retired. He loved being in the tower. He was a highly respected shift supervisor and was called upon to train controllers in handling more complex traffic situations. Yet, he also feared the scale, as his weight could fluctuate and exceeded acceptable weight limits by just 10 to 15 pounds. He often deprived himself during our family birthday celebrations and holidays, starving himself to avoid reprimand and warnings to his file. After retiring, he relaxed and he reached 335 pounds on his 5'5" frame. He had a long-time goal to do tandem jump from an airplane, so his wife gave him that as a birthday gift 2 years ago. When he found out he needed to weigh 225 pounds to do a tandem jump, he had a huge incentive and lost the weight in less than a year. Since that time, his wife, an oncology nurse, was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's, and he has stepped up to handle everything she once fulfilled for their family. Understandably, he has turned to comfort of food and beer to deal with his stress. He recently confided to me that he and his 23-year-old son, also very obese, are trying to limit the beer intake to support each other in getting their weight under control. His son is shy, introverted, and depressed due to obesity. He wants a girlfriend, but is isolated and held back from approaching a girl as he's ashamed by his weight. My hope is by sharing your journey and photos with my brother and my nephew, they will be inspired to start the journey to improved health. I apologize for this long message, but finding your story obviously has greatly affected me, and I'm struck by your generosity in sharing your very personal journey with the public. I'm hoping my family will also be equally inspired and hope we can get healthy together. You will never fully realize the importance and impact of your story to those facing this very difficult struggle. God bless you for your past and continued service to others. Marlene. Marlene, thank you for your email. There's a lot going on in your email, and I want to kind of go through it piece by piece and talk to you about the pieces that I pulled out that I thought were absolutely incredible. First and foremost is your family has a proud military history, starting with your father with a bronze medal for valor. Absolutely, they don't give those away. So what an amazing family you have for certain. So that is very cool. Now, I understand everything you wrote in the journey, and we're going to get into that in a second, but I want to talk about you first. I want to focus on what you're doing right to get this done, because that's where all this starts. If you just listened to the show earlier, you understand that I'm going to tell you to be the prize. I'm going to tell you to get to the point where you're healthy and you're doing well and you're rocking this plan so that they want to join you on this plan. The ketosis diet you were on, I don't know anything about it. I've never researched it. But what I can tell you is I'm positive somebody has had success on it, or else it wouldn't still be out there. I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm not saying I don't know enough about it to say good, bad, or indifferent. But what I can tell you is somebody, at least one person, has been successful doing that. The reason that is because most any plan out there works if you have the ability to understand the mind and get the mind in the right place. I want you to get your mind in the right place on this. I want you to get to the point where you now understand that you are the one in control of getting this entire thing done. Now let's talk about, as you ate the strawberries and you admitted to cheating. Now it's the same thing. The plans work. They've proven that their plan works. They're charging you money to follow the plan. And so in her defense, as she tells you that you're not following the plan, it is kind of foolish at some point to pay $97 a week for something you're not going to follow. I say the same thing to folks who join in Weight Watchers who don't track or who don't even follow the plan, who don't give it any sort of effort to go into it. If you're going to pay for something, do what the plan's asking you to do to get it done. Now, understand there's a very, very fine line between motivating you with that information and discouraging you with that information. I'm trusting at this point you're at a place where you can hear this and you're saying, okay, I understand. If I'm going to participate in the program, if I'm going to change my life, I need to know what it is that I need to do to get it done. I'm glad you found Weight Watchers. I'm glad you found our team. I'm glad that you're now at a point where you're able to get this done. Fruits now, it sounds like you love them. There's 0 points. We talked about before, they still have calories. So be mindful of that, but you absolutely can get it done. I want you to listen to a podcast. I want you to listen to episode 54. I want you to have your entire family listen to it, because everything you talked about in the military service party email with your family is exactly what I went through. It does not matter how good you can do your job if, as you're doing your job, you're failing on the one piece of your job that's required, and that is to be healthy. You have to be healthy in everything you do in life. It becomes much easier to do everything. So I want you to focus on that part first. I want you to listen to episode 54. It's called I'm a Good Airman. Because just like your family, I was a good airman. But I was not doing the piece that I needed to get done to enable to be good at what I'm doing. And at that point, the Air Force was willing to say, hey, you know what? It's time. It's time for us to find somebody else so that we can go ahead and keep the Air Force running with those who are able to do every aspect of the job. And maintaining our weight and maintaining our fitness standard is actually part of the job. I realize that now. I absolutely did it. Your father is an amazing hero. I talked about that earlier. That's pretty cool. Your brother being in Bosnia, I'm confident we were probably there together. I spent some time over in that area during the same time period you told me that he was there. So our paths probably crossed path there. What a neat world that is. But I want you now to understand that what I posted on Connect is that saying is that you can eat whatever you want. Right? And that's what attracts many of us to Weight Watchers, is that notion that you can eat what you want. But you have to understand that what you should want, you should want to be healthy. You should want to be at a point where you can just go pass a PT test if required. You want to be at a point where you can put on a medium t-shirt. You want to be at a point where you can put on whatever clothes you wear, depending on your size, that fit you, that make you feel good. That want should be stronger than the want for beer and German food. Think about it in this capacity, right? And so, I'm not a huge fan of Justin Bieber. But I can tolerate his songs one or two at a time, and they're actually pretty good, to be honest with you. But if I went to a concert, I would not enjoy it, because too much of anything is too much for me. you're in that same capacity. And shout out to Justin if you're listening, man. Boom, I got you. But I can't do that. So even if it's the best beer in the world, if you continue to do it and do it and do it, at some point you're actually working in the wrong direction. If you like it that much, then figure out a way to have it in moderation so that the time that you have it, you absolutely enjoy it. That's how I work my plan. I still eat real food. I still eat real pizza. I still eat real ice cream. But the times that I have it, I 100% appreciate it for what it is, and it's not mindless eating. I was able to get the goal by doing that. I was able to get the goal because I said, what I want is I want to be healthy. And right now, overindulging on some of the food that put me unhealthy will not make me healthy. I'm honored that you're sharing my story with your entire family. The fact that the only reason that I made a website, FatDag.com, the only reason that website exists is exactly for this scenario. When I was in the Air Force, I didn't have the resource that I needed to get to goal. It just doesn't exist for a lot of us. So I built that website specifically for that community, for military folks who are struggling, who don't know where to turn. I built that so they would have the opportunity to see what is available. One step beyond that, I built that for the men who are out there who don't understand that this is the weight loss journey, does not know a gender. That they too can take care of their health. They can love themselves. They can get healthy. They can be healthy. And then 3, I built it for anybody else who wants to just see the possibilities and connect. So share that website with them. Let them know that a resource exists. Reach out and let's get them to goal. So thank you, Marlene, for your amazing email. Thank your family for all the amazing stuff they've done. And what I want to do is I want to get to the point where we are now all celebrating together, but it starts with you. When you get to goal, I want to hear about it. And what is it that you're celebrating? Let's go ahead and share it on the air. Go to fatdag.com, click on Listen Now, send in your celebrations, your comments, and your questions. I'll work them in as part of the show. I want you to email in your celebrations because I want you to be proud of what you're doing, and I want you to share them so that other people know that this is possible, and you can be the prize, and they can figure out a way to get it done. Well, that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goal and go after it. I wish you good focus.